accident on that highway just before the Edenvale off-ramp. A stationary truck as well on the N3 South before the Moody's has been cleared, but there's still delays on that route. The M1 northbound, there's still at least a 30-minute delay between Houghton Estate and the Buccleuch interchange, and a 25-minute delay affecting the M1 southbound between Houghton Estate and the Crown Exchange in the Joburg CBD. Heavy delays in Randburg on Malibongwe Drive westbound between Republic Road and the N1 interchange. And if you're traveling in Tshwane, traffic lights are still not working at the Wonderboom Junction, also at Johannes Ramakwase at Eskia Mphahlele Drive, and do expect delays in Irene on Nalmaples Drive eastbound. It's very slow towards the R21 interchange. For Power Traffic, I'm Jadine Taker.
Power Traffic. Power Perspective with JJ
Hello, Nicolette.
Are you well, sir? Welcome.
How are you?
I'm very well. Welcome.
That's
Thank you
nice.
very much for coming in.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Come here to South Africa. We are going to London. We went to University of South Africa in England. But we want to go back home. We long for home. And how are we going to go back home if much injury from heaven?
Power Perspective. Thursday, 8 to midnight on Power 98.7. Now, we're talking. Making your drive home less stressful. Power Drive on Power.
All right, so the attention will soon be shifting away from Zimbabwe now that the elections are done and dusted. Presidential candidate, or winner rather, President-elect Emmerson Mnangagwa confirmed as the winner of the election, but of course there's still disputes around it from his rival, Nelson Chamisa. But as I said, attention will shift away from Zimbabwe, going to the polls later this year as well, the DR Congo. And in 2019, not South Africans will also go to the polls, but so will Nigerians. And I'm pleased to welcome and say it's a privilege to have with us in our studio one of the gentlemen who will be actually standing and running as a candidate in those elections. As Omoyele Sowore joins us in the studio. Good afternoon to you, Oga, and thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me on your show.
Yeah, before I even delve into talking about your candidacy and the situation in Nigeria, the picture, the emerging picture, I want to get your thoughts. I mean, I'm sure you've been watching with keen interest what's been playing out in Zimbabwe. What have you made of it all, you know, from an African point of view, as an exercise in democracy? How do you think they fared?
Well, let me just tell you a little bit of history with Zimbabwe. I was the person who mobilized a reporter to confront Mugabe in 2015 in Nigeria. And we asked him specifically, when are we going to come to the inauguration of a new president in your country? And
I think I recall that.
That story went viral. So
yes.
I'm glad that somehow we moved away from Mugabe. That was an eyesore on the continent. But now we are back, you know, to another old man in Zimbabwe. And I'm just sick and tired of, you know, people with analog brains running digital societies at this time. That's disturbing. But it is the decision of the people of Zimbabwe that was hold at this time. If they decided that this is the president want as their president, so be it. But we're watching keenly and see. I'm a soccer for young people taking over on the continent of Africa, so that Africa can go in a different direction. This is how I see it. Anytime you see an old man, whether he's a crocodile or a fish, holding political office in Nigeria for years, he's sucking up the energy and oxygen that is meant for 1 million young people. And the moment you get rid of them, you see 1 million young people blossom. They take a lot of space. These old African leaders are what we call matter in those days in chemistry or integrated science. They occupy space and they have unnecessary weight, political weight.
And of course, I mean, you could be you've just been describing Mnangagwa, but of course you could be talking about Muhammadu Buhari,
Absolutely.
who, I mean,
it doesn't
even
make me
his health has been failing.
He's
He's
in London as we speak on a 10-day holiday, and I mean vacation as they call it. This will be the second time I think this year that he's taking vacation. You don't take vacation if you're a ghost worker. If you don't go to work, what are you vacationing for? And this doesn't make me feel good because Buhari and his people now are gonna say, hey, Zimbabweans voted for Nana Gwagwa.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's 70 something, so he just managed me for another 4 years. But we got Buhari, we got Nagwagwa, you got Paul Biya, who's running for the 7th term in Cameroon. You got Sowore, Museveni, that's what they call him now.
Yeah.
Sowore is the name for madman
In Nigeria.
Yes.
Museveni.
And you have all these old, very corrupt, ragged African leaders that Africa needs to just move away from them. So that, and if Africa don't move away from them, I mean, if they don't move away from Africa, Africa will somehow have to move away from them. So that young Africans can take the position of leadership to the next level. We have a lot of work to do on the continent of Africa. We need to integrate Africa, unite Africa, make Africa a powerhouse. And you cannot do it when you have all these people who are just holding on to the destiny of Africa and holding the continent of Africa to ransom. That is what drives me crazy about these leaders. But we hope to resolve our problem in Nigeria next year, not the Nagwangwa way, but our way.
Yeah, right. And speaking of which, our way now could be the Sowore way, because you've put your hand up to stand for these elections. I mean, you've got a background as an activist yourself and as a media person as well. Why now have you decided that this is you want to enter the game?
Well, I've had almost 29 years of experience fighting as an activist and later a media practitioner, which is still activism for me. I was just got a point where there's a turning point where you get and you say, you don't want people who are not competent, who don't have character, and who don't have capacity to keep representing you. And I used to love the job of being an investigative journalist, but what I'm finding out very quickly is that media by itself cannot change society, except people who have, who have will, who have courage, who have commitment, who got capacity, who got intellect, step in and change society. And politicians love it when you say politics is dirty and is not meant for good people. They love it because then you're leaving them in their comfort zone. Because for them it's the survival of the dirtiest. So if you don't do something about it, if you just stay back and keep doing the reporting, you'll be reporting that an election that is not free to the people and fair to people is free and fair. It starts to sound like an oxymoron. You yourself are young, so you tick that box. And but I'm wondering, what does it take to win an election in Nigeria, or what will it take to win the 2019 election? I mean, apart from the fact that you've got to defeat a number of other candidates, I see that you yourself have been in discussions with 12 other candidates and talking about forming some kind of a alliance, so to speak. Oh, well, it takes a lot because of the way we run elections in Nigeria. Election is politics in Nigeria is commoditized. It's a huge commodity, and you have to be able to get huge war chest. In some cases, you have to assemble a bunch of assassins to kill your opponents for you. And you have to do all kinds of things, because there's a lot of political cabals in Nigeria that rely on the Nigerian state as their oxygen. And to take them away from that, you have to do a lot. But here is what I've also seen and also been part of, is that every democratic process must go through a number of phases. And the reason why democracy has not grown in a lot of African settings is because they haven't gone through those phases. And one of the phases is to make sure that democracy is created by getting rid of anti-democratic forces. We did it in Nigeria with military rule in 1999. And then in 2007, we had a Mugabe on our hand, Olusegun Obasanjo. We got rid of him. There was no third term. So we've stabilized our two-term or one-term democratic experiment now. And then we moved from making sure that those who are in the minority got to be part and players in the game. And that was how Jonathan became president in about 2010 when the former president died in hospital. Died in Nigeria after he would spend months in hospital. And then in 2015, there was a party-to-party transition. The next one, which is important, why all of the factors may not mitigate against us, is the fact that there's a need for a generational transfer of power. And the moment all of us are agreed upon that, young people in the country seem to be moving and migrating in that direction, we will have a complete, full cycle of democratic experimentation that will start to make Nigeria go in the direction of prosperity. So I think, if you ask me, that is where we're headed now, and that is what will happen. And that's why money will not matter. It's why all of the parameters that make people win an election might fail, which is paper money, intimidation, harassment, rigging, and all of that. And by the way, anytime you're rigging an election, who do it for you? Young people. It looks like a lot of young people in Nigeria might withdraw their services from the old guards in the next electoral cycle, and that's good for us. So you might actually, you may be talking to the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria next year, so you better be nice to me.
Most certainly, Omoyele Sowore is my guest in the studio. He has made it clear that he will be one of the candidates to stand for the presidential elections in Nigeria that to take place next year. He'll be one of many candidates, and you can hear he's talking on a ticket of youth and a time to change, and a time for change and a generational change as well. This is the same language that we speak. He could be talking about South Africa. It's the same language that we talk in here.
And we follow South Africa a lot. So, yes.
So if you want to chat to him as well, in a few more minutes that we have with him, call us on 0861 987 000. Let me ask you this. I mean, Nigeria is an African powerhouse.
Yes.
It is got, I don't know, whichever measure you decide to use, the largest economy in Africa. But I think it is also fair to say that Nigeria is an underachieving nation.
Yes, I said it this morning, and I think I got some of you guys in South Africa angered that Nigeria is your big brother, but is that your big brother that doesn't have a job? So you can't go to him and ask for money. You can't go to him to ask for support. It's just there. He's like, hey, he's older than me, but
he talks a big game.
He talks big game, but he can't support himself. He can't support his hide. He can't punch above his hide. And that's where Nigeria must go. We must lead Africa. So that's why all Africans must look up to Nigeria next year election, because there's a lot that needs to be done on the continent of Africa, and we must do it very quickly. One of it is integration. I was having a conversation downstairs with a friend of mine where we're coming from, and I said, when the Europeans wanted to unite Europe, they didn't go to a big meeting. They started building roads and connecting underground, overground. They started building railway lines. They made their airspace to be cheaper, and they integrated. And then one day they say, "Oh, we are European Union." And this is what they've always done against Africa. They never allow Africa to unite. When Africans wanted to unite in the '60s, it was a bad idea. They were all over the place, killing anybody who said they want to unite Africa, because they know that our power is in our unity. You know what? This continent of Africa can fit all the Africans we have now, perhaps China, in it. And that tells you something. But we are at the point where everything we have, when we want to sell our products, the people who are buying from us determine the price. When we want to buy, the people who process our products determine the price. So that's why Africa has to.
Nigeria is a big oil producer, but buys petrol.
Petrol from outside. When we want to sell crude, they determine the price in New York. We want to buy it, they determine the price in New York, because Nigeria hasn't got the leadership that is able to deliver on the potential of Nigeria. And petrol is not Nigeria's most powerful tool or resource. The Nigerian people, especially young people, you have come across them before. They're like hurricanes. They pass you, you feel it, right? That's the power of Nigeria right there. And without a leadership that understands that, Nigeria will not be able to become the big brother that we badly need to be on the continent of Africa. And that is why Nigeria must transition generationally next year. And that will also have an impact on the continent of Africa. Imagine me at the next African Union. It's going to be a bedlam.
It's time for a digital mind to run a digital world, and it's time for analog minds to retire, says Omoyele Sowore. Couple of calls quickly before we have to bid him farewell. Mpo, as briefly as you can, go for it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mpo in Randfontein. Toy in Garsfontein. Good afternoon.
Great, great. How are you, brother? Great. Yes. Yeah. Wow. Thank you, and don't forget to come to our event on Sunday at the State Theatre in Pretoria.
All right. Okay.
3 p.m. Yes.
3 p.m.
Yes.
Cheers, Toy. Yeah.
So yes, thank you so much. The task ahead in Nigeria is beyond the councillors, beyond the senator, or lawmaker, or a governor. The most important position in Nigeria is that of the presidency. In Nigeria's problems, the buck stops on the table of the president of Nigeria. If Nigeria president goes to sleep, Nigeria goes to sleep. It's the way the country has been wired right now. And no one is more capable than someone who has fought for at every level to put Nigeria where it is now than someone like me, who have the exposure, I have the intellect, I have the integrity. I hate to be praising myself here, but that's what politicians do to sell themselves, right? So, and most importantly, the young people of Nigeria who are badly in need of the change that we're bringing in have complete trust in this movement that we created. Our movement, by the way, is called Take It Back Movement. Yes.
Tell you what, you've got all you've got a presidential type of entourage already, so you're halfway there.
These are movement people.
These are movement people.
Everywhere we go, they go with us.
All right. Okay. So you got an event taking place at the State Theatre on Sunday.
Sunday, 3 p.m. Yes.
Fantastic.
In Victoria, yes.
I'm so glad that you could pop in here, and potentially I've already met the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Call him a friend now.
Yes, we're friends.
All right, I appreciate it. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
We will follow closely your campaign going forward, and all the best for the rest of your stay here.
Thank you so much.
There you go. That's Mr. Omoyele. How do I say Sowore?
Sowore.
Sowore.
Yes.
All right, there you go. That is it's been my guest this afternoon. Many thanks to him and to you as well at home for your company this week. We'll catch up again with you on Monday. Keep it safe, be safe, and we'll be back with you on Monday. Up next, Power Business after the news at 6.
Power News.